Hey, what's up, guys? It is Tuesday, April 13th. Um, our assignment for today is called What are catastrophic events and how can we predict them? This is kind of just going to be your preview for your guys' project for the rest of the week. Okay, so your IB assessment, your project for this week is basically picking one of these events and doing your project about that. Okay, so you're going to be explaining what the event is and if there are any ways that humans are able to predict this event and how we can kind of mitigate or reduce the impacts from it. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of run through some. We'll talk about if there's anything that maybe precedes that or comes before it that would let people know, give them a little bit of a warning. So the first thing we're looking at, this is a mass wasting event, also known as a landslide. Mass wasting makes it seem like a bunch of things are going extinct or something, but this is just a landslide. All right, so it's just when a ton of rocks, dirt, whatever gives way because of gravity and a lack of friction. So if we think about it, right, if you rub your hands together, you feel that warmth, right? That's friction, right? So when we get all that pressure, it's just like with the earthquakes, all that pressure together, it doesn't want to move, right? The ground doesn't want to slide. That friction holds it in place. But if that gravity is too steep or for some reason that friction gets reduced, right, that land will give way. So one of the things that would come before this would be, a major water event. So like thunderstorms, lots of rain, a flood of some sort, anything where that soil gets heavier and that can kind of put more pressure on the ground or reduce that friction and break that away. So for something like that, if there was a ton of rain in a steep cliff area, you could the residents of that area could maybe be warned, evacuated. Taking a look, a volcano, right? We learned about volcanoes with plate tectonics, so we won't spend too much time here. But that's a pretty major Earth event. There's not really a ton of predictors for this, but scientists do have some ways of tracking when volcanoes are getting closer to erupt based on plate tectonic movement. Baby earthquakes around the area can tend to precede it. And then there are some other like GPS tracking ways that scientists can as well. If you choose this one, then you'll be able to learn all about that. Thunderstorms. With this, there's kind of a lot of stuff that comes with thunderstorms, right? Like in our area, thunderstorms are a predictor of wildfires, right? And those are two separate events, but if we have a lot of thunderstorms, we're going to know, hey, there's going to be some forest fires around here. We need to be ready. In other areas, like if you're down in Texas, where they get big hailstorms, if you had a thunderstorm, that would be a predictor of, maybe the fact there's going to be giant hail coming down on your house, cracking your car windows, whatever. They can also be predictors of tornadoes in areas, such as like Texas, the Great Plains. So that's another one. Thunderstorms are their own event, but they bring a lot of other things as well. Speaking of tornadoes, right? So a way of predicting tornadoes or knowing there's going to be tornadoes is paying attention to the weather patterns leading up to it. So windy thunderstorms where the wind is going in opposite directions can kind of create this spiral and lead to not thunderstorms. Well, it will lead to thunderstorms, but then also a tornado. And then scientists, we have ways of measuring the tornadoes, predicting where they're going to go based on the wind and the temperature. Similar to tornadoes, but in the water, right? We have hurricanes. Similar to a cyclone. Very similar, right? We can just think of hurricanes, cyclones, basically the same thing. But this is, so that's swirling storms in the ocean. We have ways of predicting these as well based on weather patterns, right? Scientists and, people on the news, the weather, they're always talking about when the hurricanes are going to be, and they're typically right? That's one of the things that we really, really can predict based on some of the technology we have. Tsunamis. Right? These are pretty crazy. We're going to have a couple of videos that I'll have you guys watch of some pretty incredible tsunamis. But something that can lead to a tsunami would be an earthquake, right? So if we have an earthquake in an underwater plate, and obviously some of these pictures are fake, right? Like, let's be real, this shark right here is not coming into the city. But like if we have an earthquake out in the ocean, that is a predictor of a tsunami. And then also we can have, not theoretically because they've happened, but caused by like mass wastings underwater can create a pull down that can then create a tsunami. So if you think about like if you've ever been in a pool or the bathtub and you put your hands underwater and you pull them down really quick, right? And the water all comes down and then it pops up super fast. Things like this have happened in Lake Tahoe. Not in the recent history, but historically we have records of massive floodings and waves that have hit the sides of Tahoe because there are some steep cliffs in Tahoe. And if a major chunk of that land breaks off, it's going to create a tsunami like that. Earthquakes, right? This is a predictor of a lot of different things, but this is something that we really can't predict, right? They kind of just happen. When they happen, if they are not right next to a city, we can give a little bit of a heads up, but they kind of just happen and then boom, there they go. Floods, right? If we have lots of rain, a dam break, whatever, something like that, we can have flooding, and this is a major event. And then something that is familiar for us in the Reno area, wildfires, right? Wildfires are a major event that happens on Earth. It's a natural thing, right? But then it's also caused and aided by humans as well. We actually have some species of pine trees in our area around us that they can only reproduce with fire. So it's kind of like this, like full circle kind of thing where one of them has to die for the other ones to be born. And if you think about it historically, wildfires are a natural thing, right? Old overgrown forests burn and then new forests come from that. But with humans now in the area causing forest fires unnecessarily, or even fires that aren't caused by us, but now we have homes in the area and we have reasons that we need to protect this area and keep it safe. That's an important thing. We also have lots of predictors of wildfires, obviously, right? Like thunderstorms, whatnot. But then once a wildfire is going, we have ways that we do mitigate the impacts or reduce and lower. That's what mitigate means, right? Like, so if we're going to mitigate the impacts of something, I want to try to reduce it or make it smaller, right? So the impacts of a wildfire would be, like massive loss of plants and houses and whatever. So ways that we can reduce that impact. If you look up at the mountains, right, and you see where there's like gaps where the trees have just been cut out. Some of them, yeah, there are like ski resorts and stuff, but they call it fire breaks, right? Where they create gaps in the trees to where if this area catches on fire, the firefighters can at least have this area over here where they know they have a little head start on where that fire is not going to be able to spread, so they can kind of start fighting it from that direction. So this is kind of just a little intro. This week for your IB assessment, what you guys are going to do is you're going to pick one of these catastrophic Earth events, and you are going to make a PowerPoint presentation project about that. Just like the rest of the PowerPoint presentations in my class this year, you guys aren't going to actually have to present anything. It's just coming to me, so don't stress about that. But this one's going to be a little bit bigger. You're going to make 10 slides. You can have pictures in there, and you're going to tell me, what is this event? What are the impacts that it has on the Earth? How does it change the face of the Earth? What are ways that we can combat these events? And what are some ways that we can kind of predict and mitigate or reduce the damage caused by these things? Okay, so that's going to be your guys' project this week. You also have the assignment for today where you're just kind of go through and think about some of these ideas and kind of come up with what project you'd like to do. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Hope you guys are doing good. Love you. Peace out.